Admiral Alan Carter felt a drop of sweat roll down his back as he stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance. The air tasted stale despite the ship's advanced filtering systems. It had been 3 days since the alien fleet appeared near Mars. 7 massive ships that gleamed like giant diamonds in the blackness of space. 3 days of waiting. 3 days of wondering if humanity was about to meet its end. "Sir, look." Lieutenant Susan Morgan pointed at the radar display. "They're moving closer." Carter leaned over her station. The alien vessels had maintained their position until now. This change meant something. He ran a hand through his gray hair and straightened his uniform jacket. "How long until they reach Earth orbit?" "At current speed, 2 hours," Susan replied, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Carter nodded and turned to the communications officer. "Any response to our greeting messages?" "Nothing, sir. We've tried all frequencies and languages. They're receiving but not answering." The bridge fell silent. Carter walked to the large window that showed the vast darkness of space. Somewhere out there, aliens were coming closer, their intentions unknown. He thought about his grandson, Billy, playing baseball back in Ohio, completely unaware that the fate of humanity might be decided today. "Admiral," said Commander Frank Wilson, approaching with a tablet. "The President is requesting an update." Carter took a deep breath. "Tell him the aliens are advancing. We're maintaining defensive positions but taking no aggressive action." Just as Wilson turned to relay the message, every screen on the bridge flickered and went blank. A second later, they all came back to life, showing the same image, an alien face. The creature had skin that shifted colors like the surface of a soap bubble. Its head was long and narrow with 4 eyes arranged like points on a diamond. It had no visible nose, just a thin slit for a mouth that moved strangely as it began to speak. "Humans of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, its voice surprisingly musical. "I am Overlord Vexar of the Galactic Hegemony. We have been observing your planet for some time." Carter stepped forward. "This is Admiral Alan Carter of Earth's United Defense Force. We welcome you and wish to establish peaceful—" The alien made a sound like water rushing over rocks. A laugh, Carter realized with a sinking feeling. "Peace? With primitives? How quaint." Vexar's upper eyes blinked while the lower ones remained fixed on Carter. "Your civilization is barely worth classifying. You still burn ancient plant matter for energy. You fight endless wars over imaginary lines on your planet's surface. Your most advanced spacecraft would take centuries to reach even your nearest stellar neighbor." Carter clenched his fists but kept his voice calm. "Every civilization begins somewhere, Overlord Vexar. We may not have your technology, but humanity has its own strengths." "Does it?" Vexar seemed amused. "What strength does a species have that poisons its own air, water, and soil? That cannot even unify its own planet? That spends more resources on weapons than on solving its environmental problems?" The bridge crew exchanged uncomfortable glances. These were harsh truths about humanity that were difficult to deny. "We are still growing," Carter said firmly. "We learn from our mistakes." "Perhaps," Vexar replied, sounding unconvinced. "Regardless, we will conduct a thorough analysis of your planet. Our ships are positioning to begin atmospheric scanning." Susan looked up from her console. "Sir, they're deploying something. Hundreds of small objects entering our atmosphere." "Are they weapons?" Carter demanded. "Unknown, sir. They're not generating heat signatures consistent with explosives." She studied her readings. "They appear to be collecting samples?" Carter turned back to the screen. "Overlord Vexar, we would appreciate being informed about your activities in our atmosphere." "Your permission was not requested, Admiral." Vexar's skin rippled with colors. "This is standard procedure. All potential contact worlds are thoroughly examined before the hegemony decides their status." "Status?" Carter repeated. "Yes. Primitive. Species like yours are typically classified as either protectorates to be guided—" Vexar paused, all 4 eyes blinking simultaneously, "or resources to be harvested." A chill ran through the bridge. "Resources?" Carter's voice hardened. "Earth is our home, not a resource for your taking. That determination is not yours to make, human." Vexar's tone grew colder. The scan will take approximately 24 of your hours. Do not interfere with our collectors or we will consider it a hostile action. The screen went dark. Commander Wilson stepped closer to Carter. Sir, did that alien just threaten to harvest our planet? Carter stared at the blank screen, his mind racing through scenarios, none of them good. Through the window he could see small flashes of light as the alien devices entered Earth's atmosphere. Get me the Joint Chiefs and the UN Security Council, he said finally. And contact Dr. Olivia Wright at NASA. If they're scanning our atmosphere, I want to know exactly what they're looking for. He turned to face his crew, seeing the fear and determination in their eyes. And put all defense systems on high alert. If these aliens want Earth as a resource, they're going to learn that humans don't give up their home without a fight. As alarms began to sound throughout the ship, Carter wondered if humanity's first contact with alien life would also be its last. Dr. Olivia Wright hadn't slept in 72 hours. Her eyes burned as she stared at the computer screens covering the wall of NASA's Crisis Response Center. Empty coffee cups littered her desk. As Earth's top atmospheric scientist, everyone was looking to her for answers about the alien scanning devices now floating through Earth's atmosphere. How many of those things are up there now? She asked, rubbing her tired eyes. Her assistant, Kevin, checked the radar data. Over 2,000 spread across every continent. Most are concentrated in heavily industrialized areas and over the oceans. Olivia nodded and turned to the large digital globe showing the positions of each alien device in real time. Tiny red dots covered the Earth like a case of measles. She zoomed in on North America, watching as the dots moved in careful patterns through different layers of the atmosphere. They're being very thorough, said Dr. Peter Hayes, walking into the room with fresh coffee for both of them. His round glasses sat crookedly on his nose, and his lab coat had a mustard stain from yesterday's hurried lunch. I've been analyzing their collection patterns. Whatever they're looking for, they want to know everything about it. Olivia took the coffee gratefully. Any ideas what they're searching for? Peter shook his head. They're sampling everything. Oxygen levels, carbon dioxide, methane, ozone, pollutants, even trace gases that make up less than 1 part per million of our atmosphere. It doesn't make sense, Olivia said, pulling up charts on her tablet. If they wanted to attack us, they could have done it already. Their ships are clearly more advanced than anything we have. Maybe they're looking for something valuable? Kevin suggested. Some gas or element we consider worthless, but they find precious? Olivia was about to respond when Dr. Linda Patel rushed into the room waving a printout. Linda was in charge of analyzing the alien technology. You need to see this, she said, slapping the paper down on the desk. We finally figured out how their collectors work. They're not just taking samples, they're creating a complete historical record of Earth's atmosphere. Historical? Peter frowned. How is that possible? I don't fully understand their technology, Linda admitted, but they're somehow analyzing. Air trapped in ice cores, tree rings, sediment layers, all without physically drilling or sampling. They're creating a timeline of Earth's atmospheric composition going back thousands of years. Olivia felt a chill run through her body despite the hot coffee. They're not just seeing what our air is like now. They're seeing what it was like in the past and how it's changed. Exactly, Linda nodded. And they're particularly focused on the last 200 years, the industrial age. The implications hit Olivia like a physical blow. If the aliens could see the dramatic changes humans had caused to Earth's atmosphere, the pollution, the greenhouse gases, the ozone depletion, what would they think of humanity? The secure red phone on her desk rang, making everyone jump. Only 5 people had this number. Olivia picked it up with a shaking hand. Dr. Wright speaking. Doctor, this is General William Gardner. His voice was tense but controlled. The alien leader Vexar has made contact again. He's requesting a meeting with our top atmospheric scientists. You, specifically. Olivia felt her mouth go dry. Me? Did they say why? No details. But their tone has changed. The translators are detecting what they think might be excitement or surprise. It's hard to tell with alien emotions. When and where? USS Defiance in orbit 1 hour from now. The Secretary General has already approved. A helicopter is on its way to bring you to Andrews Air Force Base, and a shuttle will take you up from there. Olivia looked around at her team, all watching her with wide eyes. I'll be ready, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. After hanging up, she took a deep breath and turned to Peter and Linda. They want to meet with me about our atmosphere. That's good, right? Peter asked nervously. If they wanted to destroy us, they wouldn't bother talking first. Maybe, Olivia said, gathering her tablet and notes. But what if they don't like what they've found? What if our pollution and climate change make them see us as a destructive species that should be eliminated before we cause more damage? Linda placed a hand on Olivia's shoulder. Or maybe they've found something good, something that surprised them. Olivia tried to smile but couldn't quite manage it. As Earth's leading expert on atmospheric science, she knew better than most the damage humanity had done to its own planet. The rising carbon dioxide levels, the methane from factory farming, the industrial pollutants that had caused acid rain. If these aliens judged Earth by its atmosphere, humanity might not look very impressive. I should get ready, she said, standing up on legs that felt suddenly weak. I need to prepare my data in case they have questions. Do you want us to come with you? Peter asked. She shook her head. They asked for me specifically. Besides, someone needs to keep analyzing the data here. As she walked toward the door, Kevin called after her. Dr. Wright, what should we do while you're gone? Olivia paused. Pray, she said simply. Whatever these aliens have found in our air has changed something. I just hope it's changed things in our favor. The sound of helicopter blades could already be heard approaching outside. Humanity's fate might depend on what she said at this meeting. And Olivia had no idea what the aliens had learned from the air we breathe. The shuttle docked with the USS Defiance with a gentle metallic clunk. Dr. Olivia Wright took a deep breath as the airlock cycled, gripping her tablet so tightly her knuckles turned white. She had never been in space before today. The view of Earth from orbit had been breathtaking, a blue and green jewel wrapped in a thin, fragile layer of atmosphere. The same atmosphere the aliens had been studying so intensely. Dr. Wright, Admiral Carter greeted her as the airlock door slid open. His uniform was crisp, but the dark circles under his eyes betrayed his exhaustion. Thank you for coming on, such short notice. Not like I had much choice, she replied with a nervous smile. True enough. Carter gestured for her to follow him. The Secretary General is already waiting in the conference room. The aliens will arrive in about 15 minutes. They walked through the ship's corridors, passing crew members who paused to stare at Olivia. She could feel the weight of their hopes and fears. A civilian scientist suddenly thrust into the role of Earth's representative. What do they want, Admiral? She asked quietly. Do you have any idea? Carter shook his head. Your guess is as good as mine, but they've changed their tone. Less mocking, more curious. About our atmosphere? Apparently. Carter stopped, at a doorway. Here we are. Good luck in there, Doctor. The fate of our world may depend on what happens in this room. No pressure, Olivia muttered, wiping her sweaty palms on her pants. The conference room was small but formal, with the UN and United States flags standing in one corner. Secretary General Maria Diaz, a small woman with steel-gray hair and a commanding presence, stood as Olivia entered. Dr. Wright, she said, extending her hand. A pleasure to meet you, though I wish it were under better circumstances. Likewise, Madam Secretary. Olivia shook her hand, trying to hide her nervousness. We have 3 minutes, Diaz said, checking her watch. Let me brief you quickly. The aliens call themselves the Galactic Hegemony. They visited thousands of planets. Their initial assessment of Earth was, she paused, looking for a diplomatic word. Condescending, Carter offered. To put it mildly, Diaz agreed. But something about our atmosphere has caught their attention. Whatever they found changed their attitude completely. Before Olivia could ask more questions, a soft chime sounded. They're here, Carter said, straightening his uniform. The door on the opposite side of the room slid open. 3 aliens entered, moving with a strange fluid grace that made Olivia think of dancers underwater. They were smaller than she expected, about 5 feet tall, with the same color-shifting skin she had seen in the transmissions. Up close, she could see patterns rippling across their surface, complex swirls that seemed to communicate something. Their 4 eyes moved independently, scanning the room and each human simultaneously. "I am Chief Scientist Xylith," the central alien announced. Its voice had an odd musical quality, like several tones being played at once. "With me are analysis specialists Nor and Tekla." "Welcome aboard the Defiance," Admiral Carter replied, formally. "May I present Secretary General Maria Diaz of the United Nations and Dr. Olivia Wright, our leading atmospheric scientist." The alien's eyes focused on Olivia, all 12 of them. She resisted the urge to step back. "Your atmosphere has been analyzed," Xylith stated without preamble. The results were unexpected. Olivia found her voice. "May I ask what specifically interested you?" "Patterns of change," Xylith replied. "All life-bearing worlds alter their atmospheres. It is a natural process. Primitive species evolve, develop technology, release compounds that change planetary air conditions." The alien made a fluid gesture, and a holographic display appeared above the conference table. Olivia recognized it as a graph of Earth's atmospheric composition over time. She could see the rising carbon dioxide levels from the Industrial Revolution onward, the spike in methane, the appearance of artificial chemicals. "This pattern is familiar," Xylith continued. "We have observed it on 4,219 worlds with technological species. The pattern always progresses in the same way." Olivia studied the graph, noticing a red vertical line near the end. "What's this marker?" "The extinction threshold," Xylith stated matter-of-factly. "The point at which atmospheric changes become irreversible without external intervention. The point at which a species has damaged its world beyond its ability to repair." A chill ran down Olivia's spine. "And Earth?" Xylith made another gesture, and the graph zoomed in on recent history. Olivia saw the familiar curves, the stabilization of ozone depletion after the Montreal Protocol, the slowing of greenhouse gas increases after the Global Climate Accords, the reduction in particulate pollution as clean air laws took effect worldwide. "Your species approached the threshold," Xylith said, then changed course. The 3 humans exchanged glances. "Is that unusual?" Secretary General Diaz asked carefully. "It is unprecedented," Xylith replied. "Of all technological species we have encountered, none has recognized the damage to their atmosphere and taken effective action to reverse it before reaching extinction threshold. None has voluntarily reduced consumption and pollution for the sake of planetary health. We had no choice," Olivia explained. "We could see the damage we were causing: climate change, extreme weather, rising sea levels. We had to act." The 3 aliens exchanged looks, their skin rippling with complex patterns. "That is precisely what makes your species unique," Xylith said. "All others considered themselves to have no choice but to continue their development path, even knowing it led to planetary death. They chose immediate benefit over long-term survival." Admiral Carter leaned forward. "And this changes your assessment of humanity how exactly?" "The hegemony classifies species into categories," Xylith explained. "Those that destroy their own worlds are deemed resources, useful only for the materials they leave behind. Those with potential but requiring guidance are protectorates. Those with wisdom and foresight are peers." "And we are?" Diaz pressed. "Originally, Overlord Vexar classified humanity as a resource species," Xylith said bluntly. "Your technology is primitive, your planet divided, your history violent, all signs of a self-terminating civilization." The 3 humans tensed. "But," Olivia prompted, sensing there was more. "But your atmosphere tells a different story," Xylith said, almost sounding impressed. "It shows a species that recognized its mistakes and changed course before it was too late, without external intervention, without advanced technology, using only observation, cooperation, and will." Xylith's skin rippled with new patterns. Overlord Vexar wishes to meet with you personally to discuss reclassification. The journey to Overlord Vexar's ship took just under an hour. Olivia stared out the shuttle window at the alien vessel growing larger against the starfield. Up close, it was even more impressive. A massive structure shaped like a perfect dodecahedron, its crystal-like surface catching and refracting sunlight in rainbow patterns. "Remember," Admiral Carter said quietly, "speak clearly, answer honestly, and try not to show fear." They seemed to respect straightforwardness. Beside him, Secretary General Diaz added, "And remember, you're not just a scientist today, Dr. Wright. You're representing all of humanity." Olivia nodded, trying to calm her racing heart. The diplomatic team had grown since the first meeting, now including Professor Richard Coleman, Earth's top expert on sustainable development. The balding, middle-aged man sat across from her, reviewing notes on his tablet. "Amazing, isn't it?" he whispered to Olivia. "A week ago, I was teaching students about global climate initiatives. Now I'm about to meet an alien overlord. Life comes at you fast," Olivia replied with a nervous smile. The shuttle docked smoothly with the alien ship. As the airlock opened, Olivia gasped. Unlike the practical, utilitarian design of the USS Defiance, the alien ship's interior was breathtaking. Soaring ceilings with crystalline structures that seemed to grow from the walls and floor. The air smelled faintly of cinnamon and sea salt. A tall alien approached, skin shifting with complex patterns. Olivia recognized Overlord Vexar immediately. There was an unmistakable authority in his bearing. "Welcome to the Ascendant Light," Vexar said, his musical voice echoing in the vast chamber. "Please follow me." They were led through corridors where walls seemed to ripple like water, past rooms filled with technology Olivia couldn't begin to understand. Other aliens stopped and watched them pass, their skin patterns changing rapidly, communicating about the strange humans, Olivia guessed. Finally, they entered a grand circular chamber. The floor was transparent, showing the Earth spinning slowly below them. The effect was dizzying. "Please be seated." Vexar gestured to chairs that rose smoothly from the floor, perfectly shaped for human bodies. Once everyone was settled, Vexar began to pace, his movements fluid and graceful. "Your species presents a puzzle," he said, abruptly. "One that challenges many of our assumptions about technological evolution." "In what way?" Admiral Carter asked carefully. "Consider the development of sentient species," Vexar replied. "Most follow predictable patterns. They discover fire, develop agriculture, build cities. They harness fossil fuels, create industry, develop nuclear energy, begin spaceflight." He waved a long-fingered hand. "Throughout this process, they consume resources at an ever-increasing rate. They modify their environment to serve immediate needs without considering long-term consequences." Professor Coleman nodded. "That describes much of human history as well." "Indeed." Vexar stopped pacing and fixed all four eyes on Coleman. "But then you did something no other species has done without external intervention. You recognized the damage you were causing and chose to change course. Voluntarily. While still divided into competing nation-states. While still using primitive technology." Olivia leaned forward. "It wasn't easy. Many people denied the problems for decades. Some still do. But the evidence became too overwhelming to ignore." "Evidence," Vexar repeated. "Yes. You observed, measured, created models, tested theories. Then you acted on that knowledge even when it required sacrifice, cooperation between rivals, and changes to comfortable lifestyles." His skin rippled with patterns that Xylith had earlier identified as indicating respect or admiration. "We had no choice," Secretary General Diaz said firmly. "We could see where our path was leading. That is precisely what makes your species unique," Vexar countered. "All species claim they have no choice but to continue their development path, even as it destroys their world. They choose immediate benefit over survival. They choose comfort over responsibility." The humans exchanged glances. "And this changes your assessment of humanity how exactly?" Admiral Carter asked, echoing his question from the earlier meeting. Vexar's skin shifted to deep blue tones. When we arrived, we classified your species as a resource. Meaning? Carter pressed, though his tight expression suggested he already knew. Resource worlds are stripped of useful elements, biological samples, and knowledge before the dominant species completes its self-destruction, Vexar stated matter-of-factly. It is efficient. Nothing is wasted. An uncomfortable silence filled the room. And now? Professor Coleman asked quietly. Now we must reconsider, Vexar replied. The hegemony has existed for 12,000 of your years, because we value sustainability and wisdom above all else. Your atmosphere tells us that despite your limited technology and divided planet, you possess wisdom. So what's our new classification? Olivia asked. The Council is debating between protectorate and peer status, Vexar answered. Protectorates receive guidance, technology, and protection in exchange for resources and obedience to hegemony directives. Peers maintain sovereignty and engage in mutual exchange of knowledge, culture, and trade. I think I speak for all humanity when I say we'd prefer the second option, Admiral Carter said dryly. Vexar made the rushing water sound that they now recognized as laughter. Your preference is noted, but the decision requires careful consideration. Your technology is far behind hegemony standards. Your planetary governance is fragmented. Your species is still violent, territorial. We're working on those things, Secretary General Diaz interjected. The United Nations has made significant progress in... Vexar raised a hand, stopping her. Your progress is precisely what makes this situation unprecedented. But I must ask, why did humans choose to protect your atmosphere, to limit your own industrial growth, to cooperate despite your differences? What motivated this change that no other species has made independently? The four humans looked at each other. It was Professor Coleman who finally answered. Because we love our world, he said simply. Because we have children, and we want them to inherit a living planet. Because we began to understand that true progress isn't measured by how much we consume, but by how well we preserve what matters most. Vexar went completely still, all four eyes fixed on Coleman. Then his skin rippled with the most complex patterns they had yet seen, shifting through, colors and textures like a living kaleidoscope. I believe, Vexar said slowly, that the Council will find your answer compelling. 1 year later, Alan Carter stood at the podium in the United Nations General Assembly Hall. His admiral's uniform had been replaced by the formal attire of Earth's first ambassador to the galactic hegemony. Beside him towered Overlord Vexar, his color-shifting skin displaying patterns of ceremony and celebration. The great hall was packed with representatives from every nation. Screens outside broadcast the historic event to crowds gathered in public squares around the world. Even the most remote villages had set up community viewings for this moment. The Earth Hegemony Friendship Treaty marks a new chapter for humanity, Carter announced, his voice steady and clear. Today we join the galactic community not as subjects or servants, but as peers. A wave of applause swept through the hall. In the front row, Olivia Wright smiled. The past year had transformed her work beyond her wildest dreams. The atmospheric purification technology shared by the hegemony had accelerated Earth's climate restoration efforts by decades. Already, the ozone layer was strengthening, greenhouse gas levels were falling, and air quality in major cities had improved dramatically. When the hegemony first arrived, Carter continued, they saw our primitive technology and divided planet. They judged us as they had judged thousands of other young civilizations. But then they looked deeper, at our atmosphere, at the story it told about humanity's relationship with our world. Vexar stepped forward to address the assembly, his musical voice filling the hall. The measure of true intelligence is not technology, he said. It is wisdom. Humanity demonstrated that wisdom when you chose to heal your planet instead of exploiting it to extinction. This choice set you apart from every other young civilization we have encountered. After the ceremony ended, Carter and Vexar found themselves alone in a quiet side room. Through the window they could see the gleaming hegemony embassy that now stood beside the UN building, a crystalline structure that had become New York's most famous landmark. I've always wondered, Carter said, breaking the comfortable silence. What would have happened if we hadn't shown that environmental awareness? If our atmosphere had told a different story? Vexar's skin darkened to deep blue, a sign of solemnity that humans had learned to recognize. Resource worlds are stripped of valuable elements, he said quietly. It is efficient, but regrettable. Carter nodded, understanding what wasn't being said. Then we're fortunate our story was different. The hegemony has existed for 12,000 years because we learned to value wisdom over mere technological achievement, Vexar replied. In your atmosphere, we read wisdom, the hard-won understanding that progress without sustainability leads only to extinction. A lesson we nearly learned too late, Carter admitted. But you did learn it, Ambassador, before meeting any alien species, before knowing the galaxy existed. You chose a better path because it was right, not because it was forced upon you. Vexar's skin shifted to warm gold tones that humans had come to associate with friendship. That is why we now call humans peers rather than resources. That is why your world now stands as an equal among the stars. Later that evening, as they walked together toward a celebration dinner, Carter looked up at the night sky. New stars shone there now, hegemony ships and satellites that would help humanity take its next steps into the cosmos. Earth was changing, growing, learning, but on its own terms and at its own pace. You know, Carter said as they reached the reception hall doors, for a species that initially mocked us, you hegemony folks turned out all right. Vexar made that rushing water sound, laughter, but this time it was warm rather than condescending. And, for a species that still travels by chemical rockets, he replied, you humans turned out to be quite remarkable indeed.